Author's House.
Okay, so I am Jacob Famarin from Authors Press, and we are gathered here with Dr. Barbara Tenbrick. Today is February 26th, Monday at 11 o'clock in the morning. So we are very excited, Dr. Barbara, so for your masterpiece. Could you tell us a little about yourself?
Thank you for asking. I taught science in public schools, science educator, for 50 years. So
That's interesting.
now I have retired, and now I am writing biographies about scientists. John, look at all this. Blah, 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 blah,
Oh,
blah, 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 blah. I
wow.
have 8 biographies of scientists. I'm so proud of my biographies. Yes, I write poetry. I have 40 books. Pero now my love are my biographies of scientists. Isaac Newton, Charles Darwin, Rachel Carson, Edward Jenner, that's what we're going to talk about today. Antoni van Leeuwenhoek, father of microbiology. Mary Coulter, female architect. Look, on the Silk Road with Marco Polo. Oh. And look, my newest one, published January 1, 2024, on the space shuttle with Sally Ride. Oh, honey, I love my biographies.
Yeah, definitely. So, yeah, since that we are very excited to read your masterpiece, Dr. Barbara. So, without spoiling, tell us, what is your book During the Pandemic with Edward Jenner all about?
Well, darling, the beautiful thing is the timing. I published this with Authors Press in 2021. So the world was right in the throes of COVID pandemic. And Edward Jenner in the 1700s was in the throes of a worldwide pandemic called smallpox. And he was tenacious. He was a problem solver. He couldn't let it go. He knew there had to be a way to solve this problem. Worldwide pandemic, worldwide. The numbers are really terrible, dependent on, like, if you're an infant, newborn, you're going to die. If you live in London with the sanitary conditions of the 1700s, you're going to die. I mean, it was just horrible, horrible, horrible. And in some numbers, we know as much as 90%, but worldwide, as much as 25%, people were dying worldwide. And this is the gentleman who invented vaccination. So most of us have been vaccinated. In 1980, the World Health Organization declared the world cured, free of smallpox. He did that.
Amazing, yeah.
Unbelievable. It took 200 years, but Edward Jenner said there has to be a solution. And this is what I love, John. I love scientists, problem solvers. They puzzle things out. They practice the scientific method. We're going to experiment. We're going to test. We're going to retest. We're going to... I love this story. Now, John, I write my books. I read my books when I write them. I read my books when I edit them. I reread them for every interview. I read my books. And this book moves me to tears. This scientist, MD physician, wanted so badly to rid the world of smallpox, and he did.
Wow. So, well, actually, think you know your numbers. You did research, and that's totally amazing. But I want to know, Dr. Barbara, what inspired you to write a work of fiction centered around Edward Jenner and the global pandemic of smallpox?
Okay. Really good question. So I have a writing style, and I have 8 biographies, and I'm doing things. I started with a style, and what it is there is a fictional character, Isaac Newton. He's a real scientist. We know him. His work is tested and retested, and people have written many biographies of Isaac Newton. I add a fictional character to develop the story. So my audience, John, are high school students. That was who I taught, and that's who I'm writing to now. So my audience will be intrigued by a story, and my fictional character tells the story, develops the story. So the scientist is real, the research is real, what he did is real. That's fact. That is in history. Everybody can look that up. What I did was tell a story, and it's so sweetly developed. The fictional character in this book parallels Robert Jenner's life. My fictional character goes to the same elementary school that Edward Jenner went to. The fictional character's name is Robert. He goes to the same schools that Edward Jenner went to. He leaves school, he graduates, he leaves school, he goes to work for Edward Jenner. Now, he did not. That's fiction. However, every MD, even in current medicine, has associates, assistants, nurses, aides. They all have people who help them. And in my story, I add a fictional character, Robert, who helps Edward Jenner record all the data. John, that's another thing. We've got to talk about this. All these scientists, all of them, kept journals. All of them kept journals, published. Why? Because that's what scientists do. And that's what I'm encouraging my readers to do. I want them to record their thinking. Maybe today they come up with an idea, tomorrow they add to it, and before you know it, they're solving a problem in their home, or they're solving a problem in their environment.
Perfect. It's a very smart strategy to really capture your audience, especially the young ones. So I just want to know, since this is also a common question to you, Dr. Barbara, can you share with us the challenges you face while researching and building a realistic setting for the novel?
John, I'm pretty focused. I'm product driven, and I want my books to be accurate. So I do the research. I like to talk about the research for Marco Polo. At least 6,000 pages of books that I bought. And then Sally Ride. At least, I don't know how you measure pages. Her biography is all in the digital age. She's the modern scientist, so everything's online. But how many pages of digital data did I review? And the same is true for Edward Jenner. I bring in historic figures. So guess what, John? They have to be researched. So I'm product driven. I'm going to end up with a book. I start with a concept, oh my God, COVID. And Edward Jenner was smallpox. So the parallels are really amazing. And I'm hoping that because we're living in a COVID time, that students, young readers, young adults, yourself, will be intrigued to follow Edward Jenner's path and then realize, oh my gosh, I have the opportunity to get vaccinated against COVID.
So can you be more clear about that, Dr. Barbara, the challenges that you face while doing the research and building the realistic setting for the novel?
Well, I don't know what you're asking. I mean, I thought I said I do the research.
Oh, you so
I
what
devote the
about the
time.
research? Mhm.
I devote the time. I stick to the task. I'm trying to end up with a product called a book and then promote my book, get it out there. I want people to read it. If you're going to write a book, you certainly want people to read it. And so then you have to promote it, which I'm learning how to do that. I'm doing pretty good with the writing. I have over 40 books on my website, author-barbaratenbrink.com. That's my website. And I have over 40 books. So I'm pretty good with finishing a product, but you have to devote the time. You have to sit down, be committed.
Totally, I agree with that. And this is, I think this is one of the questions that I'm really excited to get to know the answer from you. What experiences or emotions did you draw upon to create the character of Robert in the book?
Oh,
Yeah.
Robert is so sweet. Well, John, all my books reflect me, right? They all reflect me. That's what authors do. Either you put your heart and soul in it for one thing, but Robert is a little student, a little 8-year-old student. And I can identify, empathize, sympathize with students because I was a teacher for 50 years and a science teacher. So little Robert enters our story as a student and he meets Edward Jenner because guess what? Robert is going to be variolated against smallpox by one of the physicians sent by Edward Jenner. So there's a lot of empathy to be had. You know that Robert is anxious. He's only 8 years old. Tomorrow morning, he's going to get variolated, which is not vaccinated. It's very different. Edward Jenner invented vaccination, but in the meantime, Edward Jenner was busy variolating as many people as he could against smallpox. So the beautiful thing as you're reading, you feel the anxiety. Robert doesn't know what's going to happen. He just knows that people, his classmates, are anxious. First, they're eager because they all go to school. Their education was huge in England in the 1700s. Don't let people tell you it wasn't. It was huge. People went to school. And this particular school, Edward Jenner School, I've been there. I visited in 2022, I think. They closed the school for a week to variolate all their student body. Why? Well, guess what? It was dangerous. It was a dangerous practice. If you didn't get variolated, you had a high percentage of dying from smallpox. If you did get variolated actually injected you with smallpox. So it was a very dangerous procedure. And people, the students were anxious. And you get that in my book. I told you when we started, when I read this book 200 times plus, it always emotes the emotions of Robert as a student, as Edward Jenner, as a MD trying to solve a problem, as his wife who stands by and watches her husband struggle, struggle, struggle. It's such a beautiful story. It's well written. Here's a cute little story. Edward Jenner was a scientist. He was also a medical doctor, MD, but he was a scientist, and he decides if there's a French scientist making hot air balloons, well, I can make a hot air balloon. So Edward Jenner makes a hot air balloon in England, and then he crashes his hot air balloon on the estate of his future wife. So he crashes his balloon when the people in the manor house come out to see, oh my God, what is this? What's happened? A hot air balloon landed in their gardens. He meets his future wife. I just love that story. That's true. These are true. So there's fact. The only fiction is that I bring in a character to tell the story. I want you to make that clear because you keep using the word fiction. The only fiction is one character who tells the story, which is fact.
True, indeed. And I can feel the emotions
So
sharing
fun.
this. And I'm very excited to read that. So I just want to know, how did you approach blending historical facts about Edward Jenner with a fictional element of the story?
Okay.
Mhm.
Good question. Robert is a fictional character, but what was happening to Robert was happening all over England, because if you went to school in England, you were going to get variolated. So we know this. There are records. This is the most amazing thing. The facts are there. Edward Jenner kept records of who he variolated. We have those records to this day, from the 1700s to today. We know we have his journals. We know the facts. In researching Edward Jenner's schooling, I can go back and pull his school records. People keep records. This is so important. So we know things are happening. We know what's happening. I don't make up the setting. The setting is real. I've been there. I went there. I went to Edward Jenner's school. I went to his home, which is now, of course, a museum. And we know these things to be true. The fiction is simply, hey, here's a little character who helps weave the story to say, and then they got this idea to vaccinate. And that's the whole theme, nutshell. That is the fact. Edward Jenner invented vaccination.
I really love the way how you use your strategy to really capture your market and the audience in a way that you actually get their interest for them to be able to read your book. That's really smart, Dr. Barbara. So, in what way does the novel address the parallels between the smallpox pandemic in Jenner's time and the current COVID-19 pandemic? This is very important for all our viewers right now. Yeah.
The book itself does not address COVID. It does not. The book takes place in 1700s, and Edward Jenner had a desire to solve a problem. That's what the book focuses on, the problem of smallpox in the 1700s. I really good question, John. I'm really appreciating your questions, because look what I do. All my books do this. I'm a teacher. First and foremost, I'm a science teacher for 50 years. So all of my books have author's notes. And what I do in this section of the book is over. Look, the end. The end. But all my books have author's notes. And the author's notes say, boys and girls, readers, young adults, look for, I ask the readers, how can you get more out of your reading? You can take notes. You can write things down. You can make a timeline. You can make an illustration of something in the book. Or, exactly your question, John, you can make parallels between smallpox and COVID. Both were worldwide, both were hugely deadly. Both of them required scientists to look for solutions. And what Edward Jenner did is he started the process of how we find solutions for these viruses, bacteria. There are other scientists doing it too. Just Edward Jenner found, we give him credit for inventing vaccination. Now, the world has been vaccinated, and my book says on May 8, 1980, the 33rd World Health Assembly of the World Health Organization declared the world free of the disease of smallpox. It took 200 years, but he wouldn't let it go. He wouldn't stop.
Dr. Barbara, I can feel the compassion, and also thank you for giving us the, the tips of the history and how successful the scientists and how beneficial that study and research to our time now. And of course, I really feel that you really put effort and time for this, and I hope that your audience and your readers will really appreciate those, and for sure, because I appreciate that. So, what message or themes do you hope readers take away from during the pandemic with Edward Jenner? Because yeah, we read a lot of books, but we want the author to really specify the takeaway for this
Okay.
masterpiece.
Thank you so much. I love that question. I really love that question. Well, the first takeaway for during the pandemic with Edward Jenner is for the reader to value the science. The fact that we do have vaccinations. Oh my gosh. Can you imagine living in a culture or a world that don't inoculate us against these deadly diseases? We have vaccinations. You can't go to public school in the United States without having your shot records. Of course, we don't want my disease to be transmitted to you, darling. So that's one. The other thing, of course, it's a book. So every author wants an audience. We want people to read our books. The second thing is, in all my books, there is an underlying theme. All of these scientists, all of them, wrote it down. They wrote it down. We have the records of their work. We know what they did. They submitted articles. They wrote journals. They published books. Rachel Carson, one of the most published scientists in, I'm going to say America, Rachel Carson. Edward Jenner wrote it down. We know every person he variolated. We know every person he vaccinated. So in my author's notes that I showed you at the end of my book, it says, it tells the readers, keep a journal, write things down. Your idea today will evaporate out of your head. Tomorrow, what was I? Write it down, keep a journal. Draw, illustrate, read.
Well, actually, Dr. Barbara, I learned that when you were saying a while ago that the beauty of science, number one, is number two is capture the viewers so that it become inspiring for them to, to develop, to discover a lot of things, because maybe in the future uh, there will be the answer to our questions, and of course we would like to believe in the facts and the history and in very inspiring ways on how you were able to inspire people to do the same thing. So now,
Maybe, John,
yeah,
I'm going to share something with you.
sure, please do.
All of my books in my author's notes define the word inspire. Inspire means to breathe in and to exhale. So we all share this air. And my taking it in and breathing it out, it all is ideas that we're taking in, ideas. And when I let my breath out, my ideas are released. Inspire is one of the most, I have that word in the author's notes of all my books.
Yeah, you were so selfless, because you mentioned that inspire is to really inspire a lot of people, and so it's a noble act. So I would just want to know, Dr. Barbara, what do you believe in the significance of the timing of the book's release amidst the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic?
Well, it's so funny. John, this is really interesting. About my writing style. Now, there's a reason. I've only been retired for 3 years. I'm starting my 4th year, and I've written 40 books. So the interesting thing is that my books are in my head. They're there, and it's so amazing. So I knew that I was going to write a book about Edward Jenner, and in 2020, every country in the world declared that we were in a pandemic. And in 2020, March of 2020, COVID was declared worldwide. So this timely book, this scientist who's been in my classroom for 50 years, he was an example that I used to illustrate to my students the value of problem solving. He was a problem solver. And John, I drew his picture. He was a poster in my classroom for 50 years. So now I'm retired and I'm writing biographies. I'm writing biographies of all these scientists. I knew I was going to write about Edward Jenner. So when COVID came out, I went, stop every other book I'm working on and write Edward Jenner. And it was very timely. It was picked up by USA Today, LA Times. It's just been very popular because people can see the parallels between 1700s and 2020.
Indeed, I definitely agree with you. And also, I'd like the way how the information that you shared about problem solving, because we really need that. And can you share any interesting anecdotes or discoveries you made during the writing process of the book? Because I really want to know your something about this.
Well, the funniest one was the one I told you, that he crashed his hot air balloon into the manor of the landowner, and he met his wife. And that is a true story. In fact, it was so cute that I made a chapter of it. And wait, babe, I want to show you. This is so cute.
Please, that's sweet.
It was just we made an illustration of it. Ooh. So here's the landlord, here's his daughter, and here's my finger won't work, Edward Jenner. It's so cute that he crashed his balloon into and met his wife. But the comedic interlude, because the book itself is so hard. People were dying. And if you weren't dead, you were scarred or blind or crippled. And I mean, the same thing going on with COVID. So we take it lightly, especially those of us who never got COVID. Oh, well, it doesn't affect me. Yes, honey. There's now we can look back and see that there's not one of us who hasn't been affected by COVID. And we have scientists who problem solve to come up with a solution for COVID. Whatever disease it is, uh, human immunodeficiency virus, HIV. We now have drugs to treat HIV. We have drugs to treat COVID. This is fabulous that there are scientists in the world, including some future scientists in our classrooms, who want to solve a problem.
I agree. And there's still hope, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. That's what we're trying. I believe that this is what you're trying to convey to the readers, that we have to be a problem solver. You have to be selfless to inspire people. And of course, there's hope, right? So this one is so interesting, and it's kind of like very near to me, this question, Dr. Barbera. So, how do you think Edward Jenner's legacy and achievements can inspire readers in today's world facing health crisis?
Well, honey, every disease is different, and every time, era, every generation is different. But the value is this: people have to learn. People have to be educated. People have to take advantage of the education that is offered them. So we have libraries, people can read. We have schools. I know in my state, every child is required to go into the science laboratory, and teachers are required to use a science laboratory for their teaching. Now imagine the commitment of a school district to provide science laboratories to every child in the state. But we do it because that's how important science is. And the hard thing is for a high school child or a junior high student to recognize the value when they're in it. So many people say to me afterward, oh, I wish I had tried harder in science. I do too. I wish you had too. So I want people to come away with wonder and motivation and inspiration and intrigue. Oh my gosh, really? This happened? Oh, heck yeah, this and more. And only through reading and learning can a young reader, a young adult, understand the bigger world that we live in. Your world is not your living room, or the television. Your world is bigger than that. It's the libraries.
It's really inspiring because now you want the viewers to really wonder, to motivate to read more, to gather more information, and also there's a lot of emotions on how you can move, especially these teenagers, to become the hope and the future of the next generation. Dr. Barbara, that's really inspiring. It really moves me. And I'm really excited to read your masterpiece, not just for this one, because to all of your masterpiece. So, this is a very vital question. So, let me ask this to you. Where can we purchase your books?
Well, my publishing house is Authors Press, bringing us today to this interview, Authors Press. And then, of course, I have my own website, author-barbara10brink.com. Here's my name, Barbara 10 Brink. And then, of course, anywhere books are sold, anywhere. I'm at Books A Million, Amazon, Target, Book People, I don't know them all, but anywhere.
Okay, perfect. I really appreciate that. So, okay, now, how was your experience working with Authors Press?
You need to know this, John. Listen, I can tell you anything you want to know about science education. I was in science education for 50 years. I've only been writing and publishing for 3. I'm entering my 4th year. So this is all new to me. This is a new language, it's new behavior, it's a new industry for me. And the beauty of Authors Press is they've been very generous to me to help educate me the process. Yes.
Thank you so much, Dr. Barra. It was an amazing experience to be discussing these things with you and also learning a lot of things from you. I hope this is not just, I hope this is just the beginning of your success, and see you around again.
Yes, John, we'll do another interview of
Yeah.
another one of my scientists.
I would love to do that. Thank you once again, Dr. Barra. Please do invite them on where we can see you and get all information about your books. Please do.
This year, 2024, I'll be in Guadalajara, Los Angeles Book Festival, Saratoga Book Festival, Austin, Texas Book Festival. I travel with my books, and all my dates are published on my website, so everybody has that by now. And I hope to see you there. Authors Press knows where I am at any moment.
Yes, thank you so much, Dr. Barbara, and I wish you all the best. And remember that Author Press is just here for you. Thank you.
Thank you, John. It was so nice to meet you.
Same here. Thank you, Dr. Barbara. Bye.
Bye.
Authors Press.